And welcome back to another episode of Pokemon Knowledge. On today's episode, we're going to tackle one of the most scary words for any modern collector in this hobby, and that is the R word, reprints. Because I think if you really want to talk about modern, reprints is definitely one of the things that has to be on everybody's at least thought. Whether you think they're going to happen or not, I still think it's very important to at least have that discussion. So that's one of the things I really want to try my best today is to tackle that really tough subject of reprints. And one of the things we are going to talk about is, do I actually think Celebrations has a very small chance or potentially a very large chance of some sort of reprint in the near future? And I got to be honest, I was one of the people who were quoting some information that after I looked at it with a little more subjectivity, I'm starting to reread the way that Pokemon has phrased some things, and it's definitely sort of made me change the way I'm going about reprints now. And just so everybody out there knows, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people that are going to go, oh boy, here we go, another anti-modern investing video. Trust me, this is not an anti-modern investing video. In fact, a lot of people will probably watch this and start to think that this is actually a very pro-modern type of conversation. The reason why is because anytime you're going to invest in modern, this is a conversation you should really definitely have. So what we're going to do on today's video is just talk about reprints. What sets do I think could get reprinted? What has a very small likelihood? So first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to share my screen. And we're going to look at this. So all this is just, the most recent sets that have recently come out. So we will talk a little bit about like the specialty sets. We'll talk about Champion's Path. We'll talk about Shine and Fates, but mainly this is where I think it starts. Unified Minds, Cosmic Eclipse. Now, this is the question. Can Pokemon go back and reprint, Lost Thunder, Team Up, Unbroken Bonds? All these for me personally, extremely unlikely. Now, this is where we get a little bit into that gray area of like what's hearsay versus what's actually true. So like one of the examples is Cosmic Eclipse. There's been a few reports. Now, I have no way to confirm if these reports are true or not, but I've heard of some people allegedly opening up Cosmic Eclipse pack from the Arceus V figure collection box, and the code cards inside it are not the traditional white or green code cards. They're actually the Pokemon Live, with the white border or the black border code cards. So if that's the case, that means those Cosmic Eclipse packs were not what everybody was thinking. Those were just packs, stuck somewhere in a factory, or they had a couple boxes of them, and instead of actually like put them in booster boxes, they just put them out in individual products. Now, this is that huge caveat. This is where we are so entrenched in the hobby and we start to hear these rumors. I have not definitively got an answer on this. I haven't actually seen anybody open a box or open a pack and actually do this. This is, again, a lot of like the rumor mill turning. Now, I'll talk about two things. One, if that's not true, and in fact, you can only pull the traditional green or white code cards, for me, that means Cosmic Eclipse was not like a reprint. It was just a repackage. Now, if that's what I think it is, a repackage, that brings up Unified Minds, Unbroken Bonds, Team Up, Lost Thunder. Now, maybe not Lost Thunder because we saw Lost Thunder in a bunch of products, but Team Up right here, when you think about Team Up is one of the least printed sets in recent memory, meaning the demand far outseated the supply. Again, Team Up was an amazing set. And people are going to say, well, it was available for a little while. It wasn't really. It had a very short shelf life. But now if you run into a situation with Team Up where maybe, Pokemon Company has some Team Up packs very similar to what we saw with Cosmic Eclipse, again, for me personally, this is pretty unlikely. I think that's, that Sun and Moon block, what we're going to see for packs is really coming to an end. With the Cosmic Eclipse releases between tins, Pokeballs, and the Arceus V figure collection box, Cosmic Eclipse, to me personally, is off the board. We're probably never going to see it again in a product. Unified Minds, maybe. Now, Unified Minds, we did see a very small, I guess you would call it like repackage. And that was this Unified Minds, it came with like 3 packs. It was available exclusively at Walmart. This came out a couple months back. Now, was this a reprint? I don't think this was a reprint. I think, again, this was just like some sort of repackaging. But now the thing is, there is this specialty box, 3 packs included. So maybe it was like a very small reprint of just this one single product. But as for Unified Minds, I think Unified Minds off the board. Now, Sword and Shield base, I think Sword and Shield base is off the table. Now, the reason why I say I think Sword and Shield's off the table is because we did get reprints of Sword and Shield. We saw the 2 different ETBs from Sword and Shield base. Now, if you guys don't know, the very original Sword and Shield ETBs came out with, like the normal ETB, but it had the Pokeball wrapping on it. Very similar, like with the Pokeballs that almost flake off, very similar to like you would see with a booster box. Then when they made the reprint, the ETBs, the wrapping was the clear cellophane. So that was very apparent to a lot of people that, okay, these were actually reprints. They were not, just back stock. And now Sword and Shield base set ETBs, ton of them on the market. The market's probably absolutely flooded with those. When you go to your local GameStop, or not GameStops, but local Walmarts, Targets, Sword and Shield base, you have a relatively high likelihood of seeing those sitting on the shelves, not really being picked up. Now, Rebel Clash, I've heard some rumors again, very similar to the speculation with Cosmic Eclipse, that there's been some people opening Rebel Clash packs, pulling Pokemon Live code cards in it. Again, I have no way to actually confirm this to be true or not. But again, it goes back to the whole Cosmic Eclipse argument. If they are, in fact, Pokemon Live code cards in there, it sounds like maybe Rebel Clash is getting some sort of reprint. Now, what can that mean? I don't think it's booster boxes at this point. If Rebel Clash does get a little reprint, I think it will probably be ETBs again, very similar to Darkness Ablaze, Vivid Voltage. That brings us to Darkness Ablaze and Vivid Voltage. Both those, I think reprints are off the table at this point. The market is very heavily saturated with Darkness Ablaze ETBs, Vivid Voltage ETBs. Battle Styles Chill and Rain, with that last third wave that came of both those, really destroyed the market. I don't see those getting reprints anytime soon. Evolving Skies, I think for a lot of people was very apparent that it was going to get a reprint. But, before Evolving Skies brings up Celebrations. And I think this is what a lot of people were questioning. Can Celebrations get a reprint? Now, I want to go back to like the original argument or the original conversation that brought up, like, are we changing the way we're thinking about reprints because of the announcement Pokemon put out? And it's been a while since I read this announcement. Now, when I originally read this announcement, for whatever reason, I thought this was saying Pokemon was no longer printing Celebrations. But after I reread it, it says, Pokemon TCG, collect the faithful first partner Pokemon we met over the years in Pokemon TCG Celebrations Elite Trainer Box. Hurry, this ETB and all other commemorative items are only available while supplies last until February 26th at 4 p.m. Now, a lot of people took this as they're only available while supplies last or until February 26th, meaning once February 26th came, you're not going to see any more of this stuff on Pokemon Center. Now, as I look and I'm talking to some people, one of the conversations a lot of people have been having, which I was definitely always on the fence about, and that was, why can't Pokemon reprint this stuff? And the big thought process was, well, why do they need to reprint it? Celebrations is a 25th anniversary set. What are you going to do? Come into the 26th year, 27th year, and all this stuff? And why are you going to keep, pumping out Celebrations? It doesn't make any sense at the 25th anniversary product. And so that was always my thought. And then the UPC, I've thought about UPCs in the past, and maybe like a good example of a very recent premium collection box was the Sword and Shield base set. I guess it was kind of like the base set, and it was this one, the Sword and Shield Ultra Premium Collection. And I remember these only having like one print run. Now, one of the things Pokemon did do, because there was a lot of demand for this, people weren't really able to get it, but it was lackluster when you think about what was in it. And what really killed the price of this were these. Do you guys remember these? Like the Sword and Shield Elite Trainer box with the Zacians and the Zamazenta art work? So all these were those Sword and Shield Ultra Premium Collection box, but Pokemon Center just pretty much cut the contents in half 50-50 and made 2 products out of it. So what happened was all that Sword and Shield Ultra Premium Collection, like the demand died for it because it was no longer rare. Now, somebody brought up this to me and they said, well, could Pokemon do this, but with the Celebrations UPC? Why can't they do a very similar product? And again, I kind of had that argument of, well, why are they going to go back out and reprint another 25th anniversary product? It doesn't make sense. But when you go back to here and you look until supplies last or February 26th, when is February 26th opposed to when Celebrations are released? Celebrations were released at beginning in October. So you got October, November, December, January, February. You got really only 5 months of supply before Pokemon made this. Now, again, I was thinking about like, okay, what were some other products that Pokemon has put out that, you know, ultra premium collections? Think of this Hidden Fates ultra premium collection box there, right? Like, again, this is one of those products displays terribly. First of all, if any guys have these, they display terribly. They're one of the worst displays because they crush easy. You can't stack anything on them. They're very similar to like, what are these? Very similar to like these, the Pikachu figure collection boxes. They display terribly, meaning they crush. They're easily destroyed. So, but I was thinking about this Hidden Fates, the Ultra Premium collection. I'm like, all right, well, like we only saw like one wave of these and prices really went crazy. But let me ask you the question. What could keep Pokemon from making ultra premium collections? Because I think ultra premium collections, if Pokemon wants to create demand, if they want to create hype, if they want to sell a product, why can't they do that? And I have a feeling that I have always been thinking about this announcement and just overthinking it. Because I always wonder, and I ask this question all the time, I always think we're in like the 10% and we're not. We're in like the 1%. How many people out there never even knew that this announcement was out there? Now, this is that scary thing. So now it comes down to what is my personal opinion? Like if I had to do a percentage wise, like what's my percentage that I think UPCs will get reprinted? If you were to ask me before I've had some conversations recently, I would have told you I would have put it at like 20%. I never put it at 0. So 20% means like pretty low. I am now moving to like 65% chance I think UPCs are going to get reprinted just because of the demand. Now, I'm not really basing this off of, you know, anything that I've heard from people or anything. I'm just starting to get a very weird feeling. And that weird feeling I'm getting is just, what is Pokemon printing right now? I think the obvious answer, what are they printing right now, is Pokemon Go. But I don't think Pokemon Go, and I still believe this, is going to be a hot set. I don't think Astro Radiance was going to be a hot set. Astro Radiance is playing pretty weird. Like some of the cards people thought were going to be lower, going higher. And Astro Radiance, like I talked about in previous videos, if you compared Astro Radiance to a lot of sets in the history of Pokemon, Astro Radiance is a fantastic set. The problem is where Astro Radiance is just kind of lying in the hierarchy of, call it modern product, Sword and Shield. So it's following again, like Celebrations and Evolving Skies. And Fusion Strike was a kind of a lackluster set, but then Brilliant Stars. And then, yeah, Astro Radiance, it's a good set, but it's not strong. And then there's a lot of hype going on for Pokemon Go. But I don't feel it for Pokemon Go. I mean, I could be wrong. You know, the Radiant cards, the Blastoise, the Charizard, the Venusaur. I see a lot of people excited about them, but the excitement is only going to last for as long as, depending on what those pull rates are. If the pull rates for those Radiant cards are very easy, if they are very similar to Astro Radiance, don't see that set really holding long term, which means if it's a very easy set to complete, I don't think people are going to really want to go after it too hard. So if that's the case, and we are in fact only getting one wave of Astro Radiance, which I think is a possibility, and Pokemon Go is just, floods the market and then kind of sits, it's like, okay, well, where's all Pokemon's printer capabilities going right now? Because I don't really see it. I see it on a very low end, but I'm not really seeing it. And the reason why I say that is because the sort of supply we're getting right now is very similar to the supply we have gotten for the last year throughout all these different sets. Like, the one big difference is people aren't going in and just clearing out Targets and Walmarts and GameStops and Best Buys and Party Cities and Barnes and Nobles and all the other places you could pick up Pokemon cards. People just aren't going in there as hard. So the supply is staying on the shelves, but I don't see it being like this crazy amount of supply, which is exponentially higher than I thought it was going to be. So if Pokemon is just sitting back and they're still printing something, and yeah, they bought the Millennium Print Group and stuff like that, and then we could have all the conversations of like, well, what can that mean? Is that going to be like a very quick, example of, okay, Pokemon now owns the printers, they're going to print all this, or is it just going to be more Pokemon position themselves for in the future that if they do see a run up, it'll be easier to get printer space and stuff like that, and Pokemon is going to artificially keep down print runs because of all like the macro stuff going on in the world and stuff. But then it's okay, well, what's the lag time of macro? When you have to like have printer allocations and allotments, like how many months ahead of time is that really booked out? Are you booking that like on a month to month basis? How fluid are those printer? There's a lot of things to talk about. And again, this is stuff we talk about. But I'm starting to believe stronger and stronger that there will be a possibility that Celebrations UPCs get some sort of reprint. And now it could be very small. It could just be like trickle out on the market, or it could be none. 65%, I'm starting to believe it's like a halfway, but again, I was 20%. I don't know what a reprint like that would do. And the reason why is I say the market is very fickle when it comes to reprints. Like, not, yeah, the market is just, reprints could kill product. And it kills it in two ways. Reprints kills products on a short-term basis, right? Like on a very short time area where it's like, oh, reprint comes, prices start to go down real quick, and then ideally, like in the future, prices will go back up. The problem is depending on the size of that reprint, if the reprint is really, really massive, it could crush long-term price trajectories too. Very similar to what we've seen before with like a Roaring Skies. It took Roaring Skies years to get back to where it was, years. So it's all depends on that size of it and then what the demand is. And I think a good example is, Vivid Voltage, Darkness Ablaze ETBs. Darkness Ablaze ETBs and Vivid Voltage ETBs came out at that very weird time of Pokemon when everybody was just stonking out to the moon. A lot of people that wanted Darkness Ablaze ETBs or Vivid Voltage ETBs, they were able to acquire their positions when the original print waves went out. And then when that second print wave came and they reprinted them, like the demand, first of all, had dropped off a little bit. Darkness Ablaze, a lot of people had their fill of that. Vivid Voltage, the same thing. A lot of people had their fill. One of the things that was really beautiful about Vivid Voltage when it was initially released in November of 2020, obviously all the hype that was part of it, but like the Maze and Rare subset and stuff like that, when you think about, your EV on cracking open a Vivid Voltage booster box at release, like that EV was extremely high. And one of the reasons it was high was because those Amazing Rares were selling for like 17, 20 plus dollars a piece, just raw. Now those are $1, $2 cards. So the price for that has all dropped drastically. And that, yes, people like to make the argument that the single prices don't influence the sealed product at all. I'd say for super modern stuff, it definitely has a very huge impact on it. So like with that reprint, it's probably going to hurt prices for a long time on those. to see a run up to back to where Vivid Voltage was, a Darkness Blaze at 130, 140 per ETB, I think it's going to take a while to get there just because of that absolute saturation of the market. Now, Evolving Skies, like I said, if Celebration's product is really off the table, which I think there's, again, that high likelihood, and I don't think they're printing any more Shining Fates. Shining Fates right now was printed very heavily. I think the store right now that has Shining Fates more than any other store is GameStop. I don't know how that Shining Fates allocation worked out, but for whatever reason, it seems like every GameStop across the country is just flowing, like overflowing with Shining Fates right now. So there's a lot of like ETBs and stuff there. Now, maybe they are not printing Celebrations. Maybe they're not doing the UPCs because of the big caveat of like, the metal cards and stuff like that. But it goes back to what Pokemon already kind of said in the past, where Pokemon put out their press release again. This is a different press release where Pokemon said, we're going to print all we're going to print all effective products with like max capability and stuff like that. So if that's true, if what they said a couple months back or a year ago was really true, where all effective products, they're really going to print a lot of it, I would say that the number one product on the list would be UPCs because that's where demand is the highest. Now, I don't really know what their profit margins are on like something like that. Like, I would like to think that $119 MSRP product for them, especially if they wanted to go like the more direct to consumer route, maybe go through like a Pokemon Center. And this is the thing too, where does Pokemon have the capability or the wherewithal to start moving to a more direct to consumer route if they want to do like more focused reprints? And when I say more focused reprints, I think one of the big caveats to UPCs is, first off, the supply was extremely low, meaning if you had distributor agreements, it was very tough to get like your fill, or at least to get a lot of them, meaning it's to me, it seemed like everyone who had an agreement with distributor literally said, I will take as many as you have. It doesn't matter the number, just give them to me. And from what I've heard from a few people is that nobody was really fire sealing those. They didn't have a huge need to sell them, meaning actually some of the people that were buying them actually sat on a few of them, and a few of them could be as low as 1 to 20 to 100 of them, meaning whatever their allocations were, they were kind of just looking at them as, okay, maybe this is something I want to sit on as an investment. So what sort of effect could that have on the market? It's impossible to say. I would say the effect of something like that, where people who are just getting them straight from distributors were kind of sitting on them waiting, whether it was, like I said, 1 or 20 or whatever, was probably pretty low because the supply was just so low. So I don't think it had as huge of an effect. But now if Pokemon ever said, you know what, for a product like this, we're going to just print it as much as we can and make it direct to consumer. So from Pokemon Center exclusively. So you could only buy these things on Pokemon Center. They do limits, so it's whether it's a limit of 1 or a limit of 2, very similar to what we've seen like with their most recent reprints of what were the Evolving Skies Pokemon Center ETBs, and then they had like that weird wave of Hidden Fates. I don't think that Hidden Fates was a reprint. I think that was just like a weird wave that trickled out there. But now, could direct to consumer like save people who never got the UPC? Right now, I'd say the answer is no. And I've always questioned this thought, and this is like that question that like doesn't keep you up at night. Like that's a more hypothetical thing, but how much UPCs does Pokemon really have to print to bring the price to 119? Meaning even secondary market prices are 119. Like I always try to wrap my head around that number, and it's just got to be this freaking crazy astronomical number, like how much it would take to print. Now, I don't know. If Pokemon says they're really going to reprint effective products, why haven't they reprinted this? And the reason why I want to go back to what I said earlier in this, like for everybody out there, for the trigger warning, like this is a pro modern video, because when you're going to invest in modern, especially when you're going to, speculate on modern, especially when you're going to speculate at release, or speculate hopefully at lowest prices. And we talk about that a lot. And I think a lot of different channels talk about that, is ideally you want to get into modern at your lowest price point. This is a very important conversation to have, even if all the conversation is 100% hypothetical, just trying to play out different scenarios. Because if you just rule everything off the board 100% of the time, like you will just always open yourself up to reprints. And like, I mean, an example we mentioned earlier, darkness ablaze and vivid voltage ETBs. If there were people out there who said, no, it is impossible for darkness ablaze and vivid voltage ETBs to be reprinted. And one of the arguments that I think I've kind of made in the past, but obviously it's not really true anymore, is ETBs always appeared to be the least or the play that made the least sense to Pokemon, right? Because in order to reprint ETBs, you got to reprint all the things that come along with it, the sleeves and the damage counters and the box itself. It's like, well, if they're going to reprint it, they'd probably just reprint the packs and put them in different things. But like, that's not what they did. Like, they did full reprints of that stuff. So, and now all the rest of this stuff, Evolving Skies, August reprint. Fusion Strike, probably will see packs of Fusion Strikes in different products forever. I mean, that's weird. Like when I look at this like block of Sword and Shield, and I'm like, okay, when we eventually move into, Pokemon, what is it? Pokemon Violet. I don't even know the new name of it. Pokemon Violet. When we move into that new era, the new expansions, it's going to be very similar to like when we moved out here, right? Like when we were coming out of Sun and Moon, what products were we seeing? Like what Sun and Moon products were trickling in collection boxes and tins? And then the same thing with when we came out of XY, what XY products were in like a bunch of Sun and Moon stuff. Like when you look right here, Steam Siege, Evolutions, those are the last two sets printed. Those things were in products forever. Breakthrough, Breakpoint, even Roaring Skies sometimes. And then like when you get to the early XY stuff, XY base, Flashfire, Furious Fist, Phantom Forces, they weren't in very many sets like at the end. And then come Sun and Moon time, they were in almost nothing. I mean, I can't think of a single Sun and Moon product personally that had a Flashfire pack in it. So, I mean, but when you look at the end of the block, Steam Siege, Evolutions, yeah, that stuff was in everything. But then Sun and Moon, we ran into that real weird Sun and Moon ETB reprint. Crimson Invasion's been in stuff forever. Forbidden Light, didn't really see much of it. It's tough. Either way, I think it's an important conversation to have. It's that speculative play. And I don't know what the correct answer to any of this stuff is. I would like to hear your guys' thoughts. Like, do you see reprints as having this huge impact on the market? Because Pokemon's going to reprint something. They got it, right? Like, they can't just be doing 100, because if you think about it, if your thought would be, no, Pokemon is not reprinting anything right now, that would mean for the last couple months, 100% of Pokemon's capabilities, as their printing capabilities and everything they're doing, has just been Pokemon Go. So if that's the case, and it is true that it's only Pokemon Go being printed right now, that is scary. I don't know. They got to be printing something. I just don't. I don't see them printing Pokemon Go as much as some people are thinking. Now, this is one thing that Pokemon Japan has started doing, which America and English hasn't really done yet, is Pokemon Japan is doing a lot of, print to order type stuff. Pre-release orders are out there. They're open for X amount of days, where everybody that wants it just orders it, And no matter how many are ordered, Pokemon will just print to meet that demand. Now, can we see that for English? Can we see a real true print to demand? Like a real true print to demand? And like true print to demand would be like a pre-order on Pokemon Center that never goes away. There was some rumors out there that maybe like Brilliant Stars Pokemon Center ETBs were print to order, because when you think about how long Pokemon Center Brilliant Stars ETB were up, they were up forever. And when I say forever, we're talking a long time. But now, can print to order or print to demand only be for super modern products? Like, could Pokemon ever, if they wanted to, prepare for reprints, but still do that, print to demand? I don't know. But like, these are all like the conversations I like to have. What I do on videos like this is I try to have all my internal thoughts that I have, like personally, try to have them come out in a video, at least to get people thinking about this stuff. Now, if Pokemon, and I guess the title of this video is, will Pokemon reprint UPCs? If they did reprint UPCs, what can that have? Like, what kind of effect could that have on the price of UPCs? I mean, obviously they're going to drop from where they are right now, but it would just be so super subjective on the size of that print run. I don't know. It's just weird. Like, when you have just these all-star knockout products, or even like, your Jolteon, and we've talked about it a million times on this channel, but the Jolteon, Flareon, Vaporeon, ultra premium collection boxes, or the Marnie milk cartons, and yeah, they're already in like the Professor Juniper milk cartons, so like the chances of Marnie milk cartons being reprinted at this point is like, like very low. I'd put that at like 15% chance of happening, like super low. Like, we had what maybe was considered a reprint on Pokemon Center for a little while, but I think it was more of a restock, very similar to like what we saw with Hidden Fates and stuff. But does Pokemon have a track record of reprinting ultra premium stuff? They don't. They just don't. And I gave you examples of it. The Sword and Shield base ultra premium collections, Hidden Fates ultra premium collections, now the Celebrations ultra premium collections. But I don't know. I'm just struggling to think of what Pokemon is printing right now. And I think the printer capabilities are ramping up way higher than we thought. I would like to open up now for a little bit of time to the chat. Ask if you guys have any thoughts. I would like to maybe read out some of your thoughts. What you think Pokemon is reprinting right now? Where do you think Pokemon's printer capabilities are going? Or if you have any questions about like, what would you like to see reprinted, or what are the chances of some stuff being reprinted? I think one of the ETBs that I wouldn't be totally shocked by is that Rebel Clash ETB reprint, like some sort of reprint. I wouldn't be like totally shocked by that. I would be shocked by Cosmic Eclipse at this point, but then I wouldn't be shocked by like if Pokemon just dropped this crazy ball and did like a Unified Minds ETB reprint or something. Because this is the thing, and I've talked about it on the channel before, is Pokemon always just has this like nuclear option at all times. And when I say they have a nuclear option, if they want, they can just, like the nuclear option is you press that giant red button and the world ends. If Pokemon wants, they could, in a hypothetical situation, hit that giant red button and just reprint anything they wanted. But then it brings up all these questions of like, well, would they do it? Like, what sort of feelings would that put out on the market? Like, how many people would get upset by that? It's just like all these things to talk about, but I don't know. So Ryan M said his guess is focus on Pokemon Go, Evolving Skies, and then the next set after Go. Yeah. Ancient Muse said UPCs, I definitely feel it would be a Hidden Fates reprint all over again. It would sell out almost immediately and still be pricey. He's right. And you know what? Ancient Muse right, because I didn't really think about Hidden Fates. When you talk about Hidden Fates and when you talk about what that reprint was, there was a lot of people said no way Hidden Fates would get reprinted. And then it did. And again, we'll just go back to this screen and reread. Like, this was the announcement. Like, I have a feeling we're just putting way too much faith in these words. And again, this was Pokemon only talking about the Celebrations Elite Trainer box. And we've taken like these two very small paragraphs and just really ran with them on how there's no way Pokemon is going to reprint Celebrations. And it's so far out of the norm of what Pokemon does. It just says, hurry, this ETB and all other commemorative items. So I think that's where we really ran with it, right? That and all other commemorative items. So all other commemorative items being, you know, the lances, boxes, and the UPCs and stuff like that. I just have a feeling that we might have read into this a little bit more than we should have. And if they do, like Ancient Mew mentioned, drop that Hidden Fates reprint bomb. And when you think about Hidden Fates, you say, well, what did Hidden Fates do? Hidden Fates creeped up to 250, had that reprint, crashed down to, it never went, you know, to like $49.99. Like Hidden Fates, one of those products, it like, even with a reprint, it was enough to kill it. But then it sat around, you know, 120. And I think Hidden Fates ETBs are probably sitting around the 150, 160 mark right now. But that's going from a high of 220. Now, Hidden Fates is one of those products I've talked about a million times. Hidden Fates is probably the product that most people, if not all people, have at least one sealed Hidden Fates product. Now, with the caveat of that, is I would say while most people have a sealed Hidden Fates product, I would say most people do not own a Hidden Fates Ultra Premium Collection box. So again, when you look at just that, when you look at like, well, what products were reprinted, Hidden Fates Ultra Premium Collection boxes were just not reprinted. And that's why like that Rayquaza and those boxes were able to, you know, creep up. And that's why they're on TCG Player right now, like $750. So, but yeah, it's like, it's never it's always something you should have, like the reprint conversation, especially when you talk modern. Like it's, and again, you got to kind of just do what I'm doing, is go through it set by set, product by product. Does it make sense? Does it not? Just whatever you do is never put reprint possibilities at 0%. And I mean, it's just a conversation. So Dougie Fresh said, PK, tinfoil hat. I think they're going to do a huge drop of all things this holiday season. Now, they always do some sort of big drop for holiday season. I would say that holiday season is always, Pokemon is very good at dropping a lot of stuff during holiday season, and they're always good at doing like specialty products too. You know, I like the one specialty product that I always think about is like the Jirachi collection box. Again, it came out in 2020. It came out in Black Friday of 2020. But man, like talk about an awesome product that was. I forget, for like $20. Somebody in the chat probably tell me. I want to say it was like 10 packs you got in that Jirachi collection box, that Black Friday deal. But again, it came out in just the height of heights where it was almost impossible to get Pokemon. But yeah, Pokemon is very good at definitely getting ready for the holiday rush and doing their very best to give as much product as possible. So I wouldn't say like that is a terrible tinfoil hat, and I love good tinfoil hats. Let's see. Kevin Clare said, PK, well, things go towards the sealed game, market how slight differences in color of print runs for ETBs specifically will determine how much it's worth. Ooh, Kevin, that is a tough question. Like earlier this stream, we talked about the Sword and Shield base, or the Sword and Shield base set ETBs. Like the original print run had that Pokeball cellophane wrapping on it, and then the next waves had the clear cellophane wrapping. I don't know. I don't think people probably would care about that enough. I just, unless like the poll rates were like drastically different, but I've come to find out like during the time like reprints are happening, people will talk about like you know, how good the pull rates were for the initial wave or the later wave, stuff like that. But I feel that the overall market as a whole doesn't really value those things any differently. Now, it's a I mean, for the truest of sealed product collectors, like that guy who is really like, you know, it's in Pokemon, gotta catch them all. For that guy who's really gotta catch everything and wants every sort of variation, I would say that there will be a very small market for that. But I wouldn't say in like the macro of this hobby, like everybody is that in tune. But then again, you can have guys out there like TCA Gaiman who has somehow pulled out every single variation of jungle booster boxes. I think he's up to 7 different variations of jungle booster boxes. So yes, you will always have that guy out there. But for the average person, for the 73 people watching this, I'm sure we could have a poll right now and say how many variations of jungle booster boxes actually exist. And I don't even know if the answer is 7. It might be 6, it might be 8. But like we don't even know because like we don't care about stuff like to that level. But yeah, Kevin, there'll always be somebody out there who will definitely care about the very, very slight variations. Same thing with pack art, stuff like that. So think think forward said, I think they might reprint Cosmic Eclipse. Look at those specialty boxes. Why would they randomly have packs of stuff into the Arceus boxes? It's what I mentioned earlier. Like, I think Pokemon just always prints extra stuff. And the reason you would want to put, like, ideally, booster boxes have like ideal pull rates, meaning if you're going to get a booster box, ideally, you're going to get like 8 hits in that booster box, or depending on the set, depending like Cosmic Eclipse, if you consider character rares, hits, and stuff like that. But like, ideally, like between that 8 and 12 mark per booster box, maybe you're going to get a hit. Now, if you're going to do a reprint of booster boxes, you kind of have to print and make and pack those booster boxes accordingly. Where now, if you have something like an Arceus figure collection box or tins or Pokeballs, you can just have a ton of different packs. And while like you can have piles of packs and they might all technically have that same sort of pull rate or hit rate, very similar to a booster box, but because they're so spread out, you don't have to worry about like loading products more or less. I think that has a little bit to do with it. I am sure that's not all of it, but that's always been my thought process why it would be easier to just throw packs individually into products because you don't have to like guarantee anything at that point. And trust me, I'm sure we've all pulled like 3-pack blisters. I think that's like the famous one. Like, you know, everybody's got the tinfoil hat theory on that 3-pack blisters are better pull rates than anything else. Now, that could just be like super lucky. And you know, I think Rattle always puts up a really good point in all his videos. He's like, the pull rates are just the pull rates. They're all the same. All the products are not different. Like, it just is what it is. But, you know, given enough pack size, sample size, like you're going to start to see trends. So I don't know. But then again, I've seen some people have some really terrible luck with booster boxes too. And that kind of just goes against every argument I just made where like booster boxes should have some sort of pull rate, but again, like, do they? It's hard to say. Let's see. I don't even know. I'm sorry if I butcher your name. Gakel. I'm just gonna spell. I don't even know how to say your name. UPC chances of being reprint is less than 10% because it's a collection box, not booster box or ETB. Remember that 2019 fall collection chest? That thing was worth 200 plus. So plus 700% within a year, never got reprinted. So that's interesting you put that. So 2019 definitely is such an weird time in Pokemon when it came to reprint and stuff. And one of the things was because the printing facilities were not essential businesses. So early 2020, like March, April of 2020, you got to keep in mind the printers shut down. They went from printing cards to non-essential business. They were closed. Printers literally shut down. So it's very hard in my personal opinion to look at products from 2019 that didn't get reprinted and ask why. And like one of those things is Cosmic Eclipse. I think I made a video talking about like Cosmic Eclipse is probably going to get a reprint, and a lot of people talked about Cosmic Eclipse getting reprinted, and Team Up is definitely a big one. Like, Team Up just made so much sense. early on in 2020 to get a reprint. Like at the time, January, February 2020, like Sword and Shield base came out. There was a lot of demand for that, but like, okay, Pokemon's probably going to still reprint some of these, newer sets because again, Team Up, Unified Minds, Unbroken Bonds, Cosmic Eclipse, they were all new sets at the time. And like just this weird time started ticking and those things didn't even get reprinted. But no, it's interesting, like the fall collector tins. But I mean, I'm still happy that you think UPCs has a percentage that is greater than 0. So, let's see. Pokemon Gym Hero says Rudy from Alpha Investment talks about reprints and sure it affects prices short term, but long term the price will keep climbing. It will, but the problem is it all depends on how massive that reprint is, because reprints have short-term effects and they do have long-term effects. Because if you have a booster box that is selling at, I'll give you an example, like Roaring Skies. I think we talk about it a lot, or Unified Minds, right? Not Unified Minds, Ultra Prism. When you look at Ultra Prism boxes before their reprint, and you look at Roaring Skies before their reprint, and now let's just in a hypothetical situation say, if Roaring Skies never got a reprint, where would booster boxes prices be for Roaring Skies right now? I think a lot of people would say if it didn't get that reprint, they would all be way higher than they are right now. And then like same thing with Ultra Prism. If Ultra Prism never got a reprint, do you think that the prices for Ultra Prism booster boxes would be way higher than they are right now? And I think the answer to both those is yes, they would be way higher. But because they did have these reprints, now, yes, so Pokemon Gym Heroes, you are 100% correct. That prices over time definitely did catch back up and they actually are now higher and stuff like that. But if that reprint never happened, you could be talking, I hate to say double where they are now, but I would say pretty high. I would say that the prices would all be drastically more. So you're right. They have short-term effects, but long-term, the price will keep climbing, yes, but maybe they will never have climbed as high as they could, or that speculator price. Like the people who were speculating on Roaring Skies or Ultra Prism to not get reprinted, like the people who really speculated hard, maybe got beat up a little bit. So it's at least something to consider. Marty the Martian said, PK, you mentioned TCA's last video. I watched that video and learned about the bird promos errors. So many questions. Is if you were a Pokemon company, how would you handle production? That's a different video. I would love to talk about that, like that hypothetical, like how would I, print stuff? And again, like I talk about it before. Small channels like this, like one of the luxuries small channels get is like we just get to speculate, right? Or on this conversation, like we're not even really speculating. We're just doing hypotheticals. Like, you could have the two sides of the hypothetical coin. You have the first hypothetical is what happens if this product gets reprinted? What happens to the price of it? And then you also have the same exact conversation with the opposite thinking. What happens when it doesn't get a reprint? So like, this is my upside if it doesn't get a reprint. This is my downside if it does. And all this is just being like a rational buyer. And again, like I said, it's not that pro vintage. It's not the pro modern. It's not the anti modern. It's just the modern conversation. Because when you talk modern, like this is just something you have to have this conversation of reprints and the speculation, because this is the thing. There is like this aspect of Pokemon that is gambling, or borderline maybe not gambling. A lot of it can be like knowledge of, the hobby, or knowledge of how sets are usually released, stuff like that. And sometimes you can speculate based off of past trends. Now, if you can speculate correctly and you can guess it right and you could time it right, and all these little nuances that are all tied into Pokemon, like this is how you do really well. And especially if you say, okay, I strongly don't believe something's going to get a reprint. And then you say, well, I'm I'm going to take a big bet on this. I'm going to pick up a lot of product. And especially now, this is when you start to speculate on modern and prices start to increase a little bit, like past that bottom, right? So when you have a floor price for Pokemon, like it's always very easy to point to the floor and say, okay, the floor price is always a good buy. But like one of the products I talked about on this channel as I speculated as it going up was what the set we mentioned earlier was Cosmic Eclipse. And I said I like Cosmic Eclipse at $150 booster box. $150 a booster box is not the low for Cosmic Eclipse. Really, the low was like between 90 and 100 at release for that. And again, a lot of people didn't love Cosmic Eclipse at the release. But I speculated on that box for a lot and told people I thought it was a good buy at 150. Now, again, did that end up being a very good play? Yes. Cosmic Eclipse, I promise you, for a very long time was on the tip of everybody's tongue as a potential reprint candidate. So Pokemon Jim Hero said, conversation about PSA value being back, $30, the grade cards, love to see it. I think we're close to a lottery system. Like now that the lowest price is 50 for PSA, I think they'll definitely start to do just the same way they've been rolling out for the last like 3 or 4 tiers, where they'll release it to the public and then they'll do the lottery tiers. And is 30 out of the realm of impossible? Like, no, I think 30 is a possible. I think that's a dollar amount a lot of people have been throwing around. Heard some people say 25, heard some say 30, or 35, 40. So yeah, that's all within the range. Man, I hate how my computer just jumps to the bottom sometimes. Yeah, so GAKEL said they mostly care about main sets being close to MSRP. That's why reprints are usually booster boxes and ETBs. So it's funny you say that, because I would say historically that was not the case, man. I can't think of any ETBs that ever got a reprint besides like right now. Like historically, that's a good question. With the exception of like 2020 onward. So that's like, so I always say 2020 onward because that's like when the hype of Pokemon happened. I'm trying to think pre 2020 if there was ever an ETB that I can remember getting a massive reprint. Hidden Fates. That's it. But again, Hidden Fates was a specialty collection. That's weird. Yeah. So you did say that usually booster boxes and ETBs, but I'd say historically, like, no, that's not really the case. If anybody in the chat could think of a ETB pre 2020 that got a reprint, I would be interested to hear it. Spec God said, if they reprint the UPC, I'm out the game. I wouldn't, if I were you, I wouldn't worry about being out of the game, man. If they reprint the UPC, I just think there would be a lot of buying opportunities. It just depends on where your price is for UPC. Again, this is the thing. UPCs, I'm sure technically, hypothetically, there is a number of how many Pokemon could reprint to get the price to 119. Literally get it down so low that's very similar. You walk in and you see a Vivid Voltage ETB sit on your Walmart shelves. Like, I guess in some hypothetical situation, they could print enough of those. So when you walk into your local Walmart, whether it's a Monday or a Wednesday or a Sunday, it doesn't matter. And that UPC sitting on the shelves, yes. Technically, there's probably a number mathematically that we could figure out, but we're very far from that. So I wouldn't worry too much if a reprint ever happened. Chief Keen said he's leaning 80% towards Denver Collecticon. Very interesting. So everybody is saying PSA $30 is out for the public. There you go. See that? I didn't even know that. When did that happen? Did that happen today? Because that's crazy. I got some cards I could send at $30. Oh, that changes everything. Let's see. Huh. $30 is for the public. Huh. Interesting. That's it, guys. $30 is an interesting price, especially now that CGC is $15 a card and they just raised the price for subgrades. And one of the big things about CGC was subgrades. And now that literally you could submit to PSA for cheaper than CGC, assuming you wanted those CGC subgrades. RIP CGC, like it's going to be tough. I guarantee you we'll probably see a price decrease from CGC pretty soon. I would say they're at $15 a card right now for bulk tier, $10. I think pretty soon. I'd say within the next month or two, you probably see CGC drop, or at least that would be, again, speculation. So Rattle said Burning Shadows ETBs. He is correct. You are right, because Burning Shadows ETBs were definitely like the last ETB I really remember being fire sealed. And I want to say you could pick up Burning Shadows ETBs for like $35 for, yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, he's right though. If that's what Rattle was talking about, was Burning Shadows ETBs. He's right though. And then Rattle said Sun and Moon base, but Sun and Moon base ETBs came out post 2020. Yeah, so the question I was asking is ETBs pre 2020. Mason said, when will G.I. Joe packs get reprinted? That's the question. To the moon, shield to the moon. So GAKEL said, here's a real question. In his opinion, after release of Scarlet and Violet, anything in the Sun and Moon era will be guaranteed out of reprint. Agreed. What would the tag team sets and Hidden Fates do? Guaranteed, I'd say more or less. But I wouldn't be amazed if you saw some sort of Sun and Moon products like have real weird trick. I don't know. And again, I can't think of any XY sets that really trickled into Sword and Shield sets, with the exception of evolutions, because there was just so much evolutions. And then no, that's not true either. Yeah. So well, maybe some Steam Siege packs. How many Steam So this is the thing. Steam Siege was in every single Sun and Moon era collection box and tin. But was Steam Siege in any Sword and Shield collection boxes, or was it all just Crimson Invasion? I'm trying to think, because that would bring up his question. But again, that's not reprints, right? Like that's just having extra packs, load them into products. Now, this is the thing with like a lot of this Sword and Shield stuff. I think there is a very strong possibility that we see Battle Styles, Chill and Rain, Fusion Strike, Astro Radiance in products for years to come. I think Sword and Shield products being in collection boxes have the potential to change the way we think of like products being in sets. Now, is it possible that like a couple years from now we'll see like a Brilliant Stars pack or Evolving Skies pack, and it'll make people excited the same way like now an Evolutions pack makes people excited? Or pretty recently, Costco's had, and what was it, the Ho-Ho and Lugia figure, or not figure collection boxes, the Ho-Ho and Lugia like theme deck boxes, and there was, I want to say, like Celestial Storm packs in there. I think there were some Garden Horizon packs in there, some Sword and Shield base, and that was real recently, like within the last 12 months. I forget when that hit the market. So now that's probably one of those weird, like this product was supposed to be given to, BJ's or Costco's or whatever, Sam's Club, and they just never really got around to it. So that's interesting. Cheval says, what the hell is this video about? Don't mess with his retirement plans. Abolish UPC reprints. Yeah. No, I don't. I think Sword and Shield, Sun and Moon is done with reprints as soon as we go in the Scarlet and Violet. Like, if they did, that would shock me. I think it's done. But yeah, I just wanted to have this conversation because I thought it was an interesting one. It's one I haven't really heard people talk about, like I can't actually remember a time when somebody made a video talking about speculating on what happens if a product does get a reprint, and then also in the same video speculating the what if a product doesn't get a reprint. Because I think those are they're two different conversations, but they're both equally important. Because what will a reprint do to the price of something? And again, just like a UPC, like, to end this video on like another speculative, okay, like I said, I think UPC potentially does have the ability to be reprinted. But now I'll end this video as saying, what happens if UPC for celebrations does not get a reprint? I think there's one question that will kind of need to be answered for that is if PSA figures out how to grade those metal cards again. I know a lot of people are seal collectors and they probably don't think that the metal Charizard and Pikachu matter as much, but trust me, I think a lot of people see the value of those metal cards in the graded form, and they're definitely thinking about that in the back of their head. And we all know like the condition of those cards from those UPCs. They all have whitening. They're all damaged. Like that's why there's only one single perfect 10 from CGC on a metal card, something you would have thought would have had really good printing quality, but actually had extremely terrible print quality. And like so many of them came out of the package damaged. So that would be one answer that will kind of need to be answered in the future. Like this, the CGC grading of those cards and Beckett and PSA, like, can they encapsulate them? By encapsulating those cards, are they going to continue to hold these premiums? Or because if they continue to hold the premium and then people are just like, well, I could even grade an 8.5 Charizard and make a bunch of money through CGC. Like I think the price of the box will increase that way. You know, does celebrations trickle out with more products? Like, are people going to look at the pack values in there? I don't know. I think celebrations UPCs definitely have a strong future ahead of them if there is never a reprint. And the reason why is because I talked about it on other videos and I'll talk about it again. Economics 101, Econ 101. When when demand outweighs supply, prices go up. And right now we're seeing the demand clearly outweigh the supply of UPCs. So could you see a UPC, get very close to like a Hidden Fates ultra premium collection box in the very near term? I'd say possibly. But this is that weird conversation too, where assuming no reprints, prices are still going to continue to go up on those UPCs. I would start to be worried though of like what the ceiling is when it starts to get very comparable to other products. Like if that Celebrations UPC then gets comparable price wise to a Hidden Fates UPC, I think then people have to start making really tough decisions. Do I want, because again, you can buy a Hidden Fates UPC for $750 right now in TCG. I don't really know what auction prices for that on eBay are going for. It's probably even less. But like, are people going to say, well, do I really want a Celebrations UPC for the same exact dollar amount as a Hidden Fates, ultra premium collection? And I would probably think most people would want to go for the Hidden Fates ultra premium collection. Sure, the Rayquaza figure is going to be broken, but you're still going to get that Shining Rayquaza card, and you're going to get the, the gold cards in it and stuff, and you're going to get the Hidden Fates pack. That's the thing. That's the thing. It's like, or what's a Dragon Majesty? Not ultra premium. It's called the super premium collection. I don't even know what like a Dragon Majesty super premium collection box goes for, but I bet it's pretty close to that dollar amount, maybe like $500-$600. So then people will start saying, okay, I can now buy one UPC or one Dragon Majesty super premium collection, get the Rainbow Rare Dragonite, or I could pick up one Hidden Fates ultra premium collection. I don't know. It'll be interesting when the price gets high enough that it starts competing with these other very similar products. Because I would say that the Hidden Fates Ultra Premium Collection would just have to probably continue to go up in price. I just don't see those two ever being equal. But the problem is Hidden Fates, there's a lot of sealed Hidden Fates out there, and that's kind of what's keeping Hidden Fates prices down a little bit. Or it's the same thing with Celebrations ETBs. What happens when a Celebration ETB reaches 150, which is definitely possible. I would not rule out. And then that Celebrations ETB now competes with a Hidden Fates ETB, and it's like, do I want a Hidden Fates ETB at 150, or do I want a Celebrations ETB at 150? And then people are gonna have to look at them and go, well, where do I want to put my money? I don't really have a perfect answer for that. Like I don't know, but I think we're doing the conversation tonight, right? Like we're having the conversation of like, what will people want? Yeah. Mason Berry said Pokemon Go ETBs will be 150 one day. He's not Nostradamus, but that's just fact. So said, actually, PK, remember when they reprinted Hidden Fates ETBs and tins? Yeah, I mentioned it earlier in this video. Hidden Fates ETBs went from 250 down to 150. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah. All right, guys. I hope this was fun. I hope it's fun to like just get our brains going. Again, I don't think there's a right or wrong answer to this. I just think it's a conversation. And it's conversation I wish more people would have. Like, do both ends of the spectrum. Do the what if it gets a reprint and do the what if it doesn't get a reprint, and then just figure it out, because we don't know. Like, it's all speculation. But I think if you're going to go the modern route, like, have the conversation, do the speculation, guys. And maybe by having these conversations, our thoughts will change. Like I said, my opinions, by having one conversation with one person, they've already changed my opinions from when I thought Hidden Fates, or excuse me, when I thought Celebrations UPC chances were like 20% for reprint, and they got me to think maybe around that 60 to 65%. That's a huge swing. But that also means, like, in my opinion, it's only going to get a reprint 65 times out of 100. There's still the 45 times out of 100 that it doesn't get reprinted, but that's still greater than the 80 times out of 100 doesn't. I don't know, guys. All right. Fun. But I'll catch you guys on the next video.